we have opera in Czech. I sang at the New Israeli Opera in Israel, an opera in Czech. That was challenging. And we bought a lovely piece of property in Tennessee, Santenia. And it took me a long time to understand Turandot. And I did not like Kaloff, the tenor in it, for a long time until I finally realized, wait a minute, this is a story of women's liberation. Because I like to work with very talented people and then take what they have and give it that special turn that makes it captivating.
Would you encourage women or men to come into the business, to come into opera?
If they're talented.
If they're talented. Okay, that's
if they're
a heavy answer.
extremely talented.
Yeah. I'm just so humbled and honored to come to know you. Because I think that,
you.
yes, I Welcome to another edition of Step by Step Talks. I am your host, Rohini Kapoor, in the heart of Punta Pacifica in Panama. Today, I have the Queen of Opera from Panama, Irena Sylya. Welcome.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here.
I think I'm so fortunate to have Irena with us today. She has so much to share with us. And you know, the focus of Step by Step Talks is women being financially independent. You know, even in the music world, women think about that. And I'm going to not take the thunder away from Irena today. I'm going to let her speak about it because I think she shares the same views that I share about women being financially independent. So, Irena, I'm going to pass the mic on to you, and you're going to share with my audience who you are, why you're in Panama, and what got you here, and what you've done in the last few decades to promote the opera in Panama.
Well, that's a lot of topics.
It is.
So I grew up in South Alabama.
Right.
And I never saw an opera until I was 18. I did have a musical background. My mother saw to that. I started piano when I was 5. I'm still not a good pianist, but it was enough to get me a background. And then I was an oboist, and then I sang in the choruses. And in our little tiny town of Andalusia, Alabama, we had such a phenomenal music program. I don't know how I got so fortunate to be put in that section. And we actually had musicals. I was in a musical, Bye Bye Birdie, the first one, when I was like 14. And then I graduated and went to college and was taking voice as a major. And I was in an opera. And I had never seen an opera. And it was a modern opera. It was Carlisle. It's not modern anymore, but at that time it was modern. Carlisle Floyd's Susanna. I had no idea how difficult it was, so I just sang it. And I thought, well, this is what I want to do. This is fabulous, because opera embodies so many things at the pinnacle of the arts. It involves the orchestra, it involves singing, acting, drama, oftentimes ballet. And it's just such a wonderful art form. And why is opera important? To me, it's important because it feeds the soul. And I always had a mantra when I went out on stage. I would actually step into this imaginary spacesuit and put my space hat on so that no negative energy could come into me. It's all in my mind, but the positive energy could go out. And as an opera singer, we get to be a little bit more eccentric than the average person. You're a banker or a librarian or your daily work in life. You don't get to have your emotions as close to the skin as we do.
Well, with opera, you have to share your emotion through your voice. Right. And your acting.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
so I would mentally invite my audience, come with me. I will take you on a journey, and we will go through all the emotions. We will go through anger. We will go through fear. We'll go through jealousy. We'll go through murder. We'll go through spirituality. And at the end of the evening, you should come out cleansed. Because my husband, who taught natural healing, said that it's important to clean your emotions daily. And for me, that's what opera does. It cleanses and gives us another level. When it works, it works. Opera can be extremely boring. I'm sorry. I know people think it is. And I have been to boring operas. But when it's right, it is one of the most inspiring things I've ever experienced.
So you came to Panama in 1999,
Correct.
right? And when you came to Panama, there was absolutely no opera.
Not only was there no opera, um, I don't think most people here knew that the National Theater was an opera house. Now, I came here with my husband then, who said one day, I want to go to Panama and buy land. And I thought, well, it's my birthday. I want to go to the beach. He said, let's go to Panama. And my famous question was, do they have a beach?
Yeah, do they have a beach?
I'll never live that one down.
Yeah.
Because I have always learned my geography by where I've been,
Yeah.
not where I'm going. So he said, I think we can find one. So we came down and we bought a lovely piece of property in Pedestal, Santeña.
Uh-huh.
And then we went back and forth. I was still singing in Europe at that time until I moved here in 2006. I took a job teaching at the University of Panama, teaching voice, and worked to find out also what the talent pool here is in Panama. And it's phenomenal. It's like diamonds on the street. You just pick them up and polish them a little bit, and it's just fabulous, fabulous talent.
Do you mix the opera at all with the Spanish music, or is it different? Is it a bit different when it comes to, or is it just based on Latin music? You're going to have to educate me a little bit here.
Okay. Well, the opera started in Italy.
Yes.
So it started in Italian. And what many people don't know, the next country out after that, oddly enough, was Poland.
Oh, it was Poland.
Well, who would know?
I thought it was Austria. Okay. Yeah.
So we have today, in today's world, we have opera in Italian, in German, in French, in Spanish, and there's also the operetta. And we have zarzuela, which is particularly Spanish.
Okay.
And that's a little bit like a Viennese operetta, but what we call Broadway. Kind of sort of, it has spoken in its drama. And then we have opera in Czech. I sang at the New Israeli Opera in Israel, an opera in Czech. That was challenging.
Yeah, now you've sung in many countries, over 30 countries, haven't you?
Various countries, and that's one of the wonderful things, because I love going to different countries and finding out the personalities and the culture. And I think that's the greatest education we can ever have, is traveling and learning about different cultures.
Well, what's amazing is, Irena, that while you've gone to these different countries, you've performed with some very famous people.
I have had the fabulous opportunity to work with and to study with, above all, incredibly wonderful people. And I was told, and my father always said, you have to aim high to hit high, but he said, always go to as high as you can in any business, just to that person that is the best. And if you want to be in the best at something, surround yourself with the best. And I was able to do that on many occasions.
So do you name a few people that you worked with, and famous people that you've sang with in opera?
Franco Corelli.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I can actually say that I sang with him because I was in his master class, and he liked what I was doing, and he got up and sang a duet with me, and that was the most wonderful experience. I worked with Sir Charles Mackerras, one of the greatest conductors ever to live, and also was mentored and sent to a person mentored by wonderful conductors. And my greatest mentor was Elena Nicolaidi.
Yes. Do you want to share the story? Because when you shared it with me, it was very touching.
Well, Nicolaidi was Greek,
Yeah.
and then she came to Vienna to sing when at a very young age, and it also was during the time of World War II.
Yeah.
It was a very difficult time. And Richard Strauss was there at the time as well. She actually sang Strauss operas with Richard Strauss, for you all that know who he is. That is just an amazing thing. And the day the Nazis invaded Greece, someone smarted off to her, and she was a feisty woman. And she reacted to it and said something back, and they were going to take her to prison for that. because you just didn't do it in that time. But Richard Strauss was able to save her from going to prison through some of his contacts, and she continued to sing there until 1949 when she moved to the United States.
Uh-huh. I see. And then she died when she was 92 and she was still performing, right?
Well, she was still teaching.
She was
I mean,
still teaching.
She
so
did a
performed.
concert. She
Yeah.
did recitals along the way and
Yeah.
into her 80s.
Yeah.
And I met her in her late 70s.
Ah,
and she,
okay.
I actually, somebody said I was looking for a different voice teacher in Houston, Texas. And someone suggested that I go sing for her.
Right.
At this, and I had no idea who she was.
No.
And I did not do my research like you did. So I went and sang for her.
Right.
And she looked at me, I'll never forget it as long as I live. Darling, your voice is like a wonderful piece of silk with shit smeared all over it. We scrape off the shit, we have beautiful material. And so I thought, thank you.
It's a compliment, maybe.
And we started scraping, or she started scraping. But when she told me how to do a phrase, it was like it could never be done in any other way. It was one of the most musical things, and how she connected the music with the soul and the meaning of it. And there are singers today that I divide them in two categories: the singers that sing their voice, and the singers that sing the music. If you're just there to sing your voice, to me, it's not interesting.
Yeah.
That was Maria Callas's greatest gift, is that she went so deep into the personality.
Yeah.
And it has to be connected with that. Otherwise, we get back to the boring part.
We get back. Okay. So let's go back a little bit here. When they first started opera, the boys were taken in mostly, and their testicles were cut off so that their voice wouldn't break, right?
What a horrible thing. Yes, they're called castrati. Castrato,
yeah, that's right.
Which comes from the word castration.
Yeah.
And the mothers would actually do that to their young children, even before their voices changed, not knowing whether they would be talented or not.
No.
It was, and these singers were phenomenal because they had the rib cage and the muscles of the men that they could sing the lines forever. Fortunately, that was outlawed later.
That was outlawed for sure, yeah. But it's very interesting to read that,
Yeah.
And what about now, today? You are the director at the Opera House.
Of Opera Panama.
Of Opera Panama, that's right. Of Opera Panama. Do you have a lot of children coming in, or do you teach opera in school, or how do you get your performance?
Well, when I was teaching at the university, it was easier for me to look for the singers. The singers actually contact us now, mostly, some of them. But we also do programs in the school. We've done about 12, 14 operas here, full operas. And many, many concerts, 60, 70 concerts, both in the city of Panama and in the interior, as far south as, or I guess that's southwest of Panama, and in Colón, as far as Colón.
Yeah.
Because it's important. And when we just finished La Boheme, and we did our tradition of the final dress rehearsal of opening it to children, school children. So we had about 400 school children.
You did
in the audience, and it's so interesting to me because when we first did it with Tosca, which can be it's about murder and various things, I thought, oh my goodness, what are these children going to think? And they loved it.
They loved it.
Yes, when Tosca and Cavarosi kissed, they went yay, and when the villain came out, they went boo.
Oh,
I mean, they participated.
So they understood it.
Well, and we explained it along the way,
Yeah.
and we had a wonderful stage director from Spain this time, Federica Figueroa, who explained all the things to the children. I say children, up to young teenagers, and they just absolutely loved it. They applauded and applauded, and they had their favorites when we were practicing the curtain call as well. And I just that is how we inspire the future.
So you do schools bit by bit, but it's not a class in school.
No.
Opera is not a class, but would it be in a music class? Would opera be part of a music class?
I've gone to schools and given programs and explained opera and had some singers show it, and as a special thing, which we don't really teach it in the schools.
Okay.
It would be lovely if we had the
Yeah.
economic incentive to do that. However, there is the new Ciudad de las Artes, the City of Arts, and Juan Pomares, who works very hard, is the Orgullo de Panama. I think that Panama's pride. He is a fabulous tenor, and he also works very much with the business of opera. He's sung in 7 or 8 different countries now, in Italy and Austria and Latvia, Mexico, Peru, and he is working on a program to introduce the children, young students to opera as well, maybe on a monthly basis. And we're working that out with the Ministerio de Cultura.
That is fantastic. Now, I remember a few years ago when the three tenors came out. I mean, they were wonderful.
Fabulous.
I saw them in Canada. Oh, just unbelievable.
Fabulous.
They're young.
Young at that time, yes.
Yes, I mean, they were
Yeah,
when they
yeah.
started and
Yes.
it's not very far, maybe 10 years ago, 15, or maybe I'm looking at about 15 years ago.
Yeah, I
would
guess
say.
Pavarotti died maybe 12
12,
13
and
years
then the
ago,
three
12 years
tenors
ago.
came
Yeah,
after,
uh-huh.
right?
Right.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. They're the young tenors, right? Am I mixing?
Pardon? Pavarotti,
Yeah.
the Spanish guy's name who starts with the C. Carreras.
Yes, okay.
And Domingo.
Yeah,
were the 3
yeah,
tenors,
just
yes.
unbelievable.
Now, a lot of snobbish opera singers thought that was degrading.
Oh, did they? Okay,
They
tell our
did,
audience
and
more.
it said,
Yeah.
"Oh, you
Yeah.
can't go out and do this
Yeah.
things in the stadium. This is not." I thought it was one of the greatest things that happened because it brought opera to a much larger audience and promoted it. And Pavarotti, whom I knew before he was really famous in Texas, also said that American television helped bring opera back because I remember his being on some morning shows and cooking spaghetti and singing. So it's whatever you do that you can connect with people to bring them to the world of opera and show them that it is for everybody. It's for the people.
Yeah, exactly. Now, would you recommend opera as a career or as a hobby?
Well, I can tell you what my opera director told me, Walter Declue, who's long since not with us. He was actually the interpreter for Patton during World War II. He's Swiss and very, very hard, very difficult. But he gave me a great background in stage. He said, if there's anything else you can do, do it.
Okay.
If you cannot live without it, if it's not more important to you than, I'm going to quote him, sorry, than breathing, eating, or sex, his words, don't go into opera. It's too difficult.
Okay.
And he was right.
Yeah.
But in my case, it was a passion that I could never give up. I used to quit once or twice a week in my mind.
Okay, like everybody else with their careers. Yeah.
But it's something I just could not give up.
Okay. So you continued on for many years. Now, explain to the audience, the longer the applause, the better the opera? The longer the applause?
Well,
now,
yes.
So there was, I'm trying to remember his name, who got an hour and 10 minutes of an applause.
You're more informed than I am.
Am I? Okay.
Yes, I don't
know
that
one. Now, excuse me, but I thought you'd know his name. I'm forgetting it right now. But then it was taken over by somebody just about a few years ago when people applauded for almost 2 hours after an opera. And it was Othello, I think.
I find that hard to believe.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
I have
then
to say.
Google's giving me the wrong message.
I mean, it may be written somewhere.
Yeah.
But I have been in performances. It's not usually done as much anymore, where they applauded during the performance, so much so that the singer had to stop and re-sing the aria. Aria.
Right.
But I have been in standing ovations, but with the really, really, really great singers of the world. And what makes a great singer? The ability not only to sing, but you have to do it in the right rhythm, the right time. You have to do the acting. You have to communicate with your fellow singers on stage, but you have to communicate with the audience, the passion. So you have to start with what the words mean. You have to start with the story. And in one of my great mentors, Dr. Robert De Simone, who helped me start Opera Panama, actually.
Oh, did he?
Yes,
Oh,
he
right.
was here for the very first one.
Yeah.
And he said, the art of singing is phonating on the words. And that's what it's about. Sometimes we get that mixed up in today's world of teaching, where you make places for the vowels in the mouth. But to me, that's backwards, because each language feels different in the mouth.
Yeah.
German, Spanish, Italian, it all feels different in the mouth.
Yeah.
And so you phonate, you find that, and you phonate on the words. It's all done in the mask. And there's something called chiaroscuro, the brightness and the darkness. And the brightness is the focus, the thing that takes it through the theater and goes over the orchestra. And the oscuro, it gives it the color, because there's no one alive that can sing louder than an orchestra. So you have to find the harmonics that go above the orchestra.
That's just amazing. And it's hard work.
It's not easy. Have to be. I compare it often to an Olympic athlete, because it is a very physical thing. You have to have the breath control to stay there and keep the rib cage out and to plant yourself. It is a very, very physical activity.
Yeah, that's very sure. So what's next? I know that you're going to be holding some training sessions in different parts of the world right now.
Yes, yes.
Do you want to tell our audience about that so that we can follow your journey?
Yeah. Since at my age, which I refuse to believe and I refuse to accept, I give master classes, and I call it from singer to artist.
Okay.
And because I like to work with very talented people, and then take what they have and give it that special turn that makes it captivating. And so in the master classes, I have 8 to 10 people, sometimes more, also an audience of oyentes. I've forgotten the word in English now, auditors.
Auditors, yeah.
And because it's very interesting when you work with a singer and they get the concept and sing that way, everyone in the audience or all the other singers goes, ah! And so that's immediately positive feedback for the singer to know they've done something different and something right. So I've given master classes in the Teatro Goldoni in Italy, in Lecce in Italy, in various places, in Peru, in Mexico, in the United States, the Czech Republic. And now I'm going to give my first master class in Madrid in the month of October. And I'm so looking forward to that.
And how many people do you have in there?
We're limiting it to about 10 people.
10 people.
And I'm co-teaching this one with my very, very dear friend, Patricia Barton, who was the assistant music director at the Teatro Real in Madrid. She started there 27 years ago, and she's just retiring.
Oh, wow.
And we worked with this particular singer together, and we're so in sync with each other about how it needs to go. Now, Patricia is the pianist, and she was a friend of my roommate in Austria when we were singing together. We all went there together, not knowing a word of German, so we had to learn German. And we did castle hopping.
Castle hopping. Okay.
Castle hopping.
Right.
So Patricia was the pianist, and although Elizabeth was a phenomenal pianist as well, she and I sang the concerts. We did duets together and everything, and we did it in various castles. In the summertime, they would have festivals around Austria. So that was our castle hopping days. And now we hope to repeat some of our time together in master classes and training other singers to do that.
That is amazing. What an incredible journey. And the way you keep going on just sounds like fun. It doesn't sound like work at all, right?
Well, it has to be fun. There has to be an element of fun.
Definitely.
And there's something about, and I've talked with other singers, we do our technique. And I say technique is for until the muse arrives. And there's sometimes, I don't know what she's out doing, she's filing her nails or something, but when she decides to come in, it's an experience like none other. It's an experience like you're no longer singing. you are standing there, and I've even talked with singers, and I've experienced it once or twice, that you feel like you're in the wings of the theater watching yourself sing, but you're not doing it. Something is singing through
For
you.
you.
And that is the biggest high, the biggest on the face of the earth that I've ever experienced.
Wow.
I haven't done a lot of drugs, so I can't compare it to that.
What is one of the best operas you've seen?
That
You've
I've,
seen,
that I've seen?
yeah, that you think, that was unbelievable.
Well, I just saw Aida in Steinbruch in the southern part of Austria.
Yeah.
And it was the most magnificent production. But Aida is a wonderful production anyway.
Okay.
And we actually did it here in 2013 in conjunction with Italy, singers from Italy, and the chorus came in from Costa Rica. It was a huge production. Nearly killed me, but it was fabulous. I am a great fan of Turandot.
Oh, you are?
Yes,
Yeah.
and I was fortunate enough to be able to sing the role of Turandot in Prague, in the Czech Republic. And it took me a long time to understand Turandot, and I did not like Kaloff, the tenor in it, for a long time, until I finally realized, wait a minute, this is a story of women's liberation. Because she was to be married to the person that could answer the three riddles by her father, who ruled the kingdom. And he answered the three riddles. And then she said, oh, no, you've taken my dignity. Let me leave. Let me go somewhere else. And he kissed her, and she didn't know what to do about that. But then he said, no, I would never be, oh, I may cry on this one. I get chill bumps. I would never be with you if you did not want me. So tonight I will give you the opportunity to find out my name.
Oh, okay.
And if you do, in the morning, then you can have me killed.
Okay.
So there's that wonderful aria that goes throughout the world now, because Pavarotti sang it in Spain at one of the big events. Nessun dorma, nessun dorma, nessun dorma.
Yeah.
And that's no one will sleep tonight because the princess is learning. And then the next day she didn't have his name. And he said, I give you my life. My name is Kaloff.
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes to the emperor and she says, Padre Augusto, I know his name. His name is love.
Wow.
And so it was her decision.
Yeah.
And that's why I say it's a story of women's lib.
That just sounds amazing. That just sounds so romantic.
And to have the privilege to having sung that was one of the greatest things in my life.
That is just unreal. So now, would you encourage women or men to come into the business, to come into opera?
If they're talented.
If they're talented. Okay. That's
if they're
a heavy answer.
Extremely talented.
Yeah.
And if they are willing to work extremely difficultly, in difficult situations. And I say you have to be OCD.
Okay.
Because who else would sing
all day long?
All day long to get that. But if you're willing to do the finite things, and if you're willing to be vulnerable on stage, often the opera singers say that being on stage and being vulnerable is more naked than being there without clothes. Because you open, and that's the only way I know to connect with the audience, is to be vulnerable and let you invite you in. And I teach my singers, you don't sing to the audience. You sing there and you sing the story and you invite them in. And the audience is voyeur. They're voyeurs, and they want to see who you are. They want to peep in the window. They want to see the soul of the person. And when you can get that combination of walking the tightrope, yes, then be an opera singer, because it's the most magnificent thing in the world.
It's hard work, but like anything else,
yes.
Once you get there, it's very, very self-satisfying.
And I'm not sure you ever get there.
Okay, you keep going. You always try for the best. Really.
I remember being with my friend Richard Paul Fink at the Met and at a dress rehearsal. I think it was Lohengrin, and he said, "Well, because it's a beautiful wood carvings. At least I can do this if I don't make it as an opera singer." And I said, "Richard, You're singing at the Met.
Oh, wow.
I think you've made
You
it.
made it.
But you always have to keep studying. You never give up studying. So, and it was a great singer. I think it was Milanov said they asked her how long she had studied. And she said, I never stopped. And you can't because and you always have to have another ear hear you because we hear ourselves in between our ears.
Yeah.
And it's a completely different sound. That's why you have to have someone to listen to you with an incredible ear because it's different from what you think it is.
Well, yeah. And I guess everybody hears differently, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
everybody hears differently. So if somebody wants to be in touch with you, Irena, how would they get in touch with you?
Well,
because I think, you know what, I myself didn't know there was opera in Panama until I got to know you and I started doing some research. And I'm sure there's lots of people who come here who would love to come to the opera, especially the expats who are coming into Panama.
Absolutely.
A lot of the Americans, a lot of the Canadians, a lot of people from all over the
and
world,
opera
Europeans.
is good for the economy. It's good for tourism.
There you go.
That was my plug.
So do you advertise it? Where can we reach out for you? Where's the best way to come to know you?
Let me say that we did our first opera in 2008 for the 100th anniversary of the National Theater. And I hope we can get in the National Theater again.
Wow, for the 100th anniversary of the National Theater in Panama. That's amazing.
Yes, it was amazing.
So now where can we reach you?
Well, I'm on Facebook, Irena Sylya. I'm on Instagram. We have Fundación Opera Panama or Opera Panama has a website, and we're on Instagram and Facebook.
And you would encourage people who are interested in the opera to come and learn opera or want to perform?
To perform, yes, come and audition, and we provide scholarships for learning because God never really got it together to give, in my opinion, to give the talent and the money to the same person. The money's over here, and sometimes there's talent with it.
Yeah, exactly.
But the talent is usually over here, so it takes an incredible amount of discipline and money to become an opera singer because you have to do all this work and training and in the universities in many places in the United States where I worked and went on to do doctoral studies. We had opera there as good as some of the regional houses in Europe. And so that was a wonderful experience. But yes.
So to my audience, you know, we're speaking to someone who started, you know, in a very difficult profession. It's not something everybody would get into, but you made it and got right to the top of your career, being an opera singer, performing, training, teaching, you know, the works. You've done everything.
Hopefully not everything. I want something else to do.
There you go. But you know, you've got right to the top of where you should. You worked all your way and made yourself financially independent. So you know, where there's a will, there's a way.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
Where there's a will, there's a way. Even though you were told,
"I'll find a way or make one," is another adage.
Or like I usually say, if it's to be, it's up to me. Right. So you made sure that happened.
And I was told so many times that you'll never make it. You'll never make it. You'll never make it.
Isn't that interesting?
And I have the vision of making it. I'm trying to remember. I remembered his name. The great runner of 1936 in the Olympics. And he was on the ship going. He was also from Alabama, from the son of a sharecropper, and he was going to Germany for the Olympics.
Right.
And the coach came and found him just lying in a deck chair. He said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm seeing myself winning the Olympics." So I believe you have to see it to believe it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I'm just so humbled and honored to come to know you. Because I think I think that, you know, you've done what you wanted to do. You didn't let any of your excuses come in your way, even though you were quitting every week.
Well, and I did have some backtracks.
Everybody does. But you came back. You came back and you did it, right? So if that's not a motivator, I'd say I don't think that would, you know, you're a motivator and a role model to my audience. And I would encourage you to contact Sylvia and talk to her if you're interested in doing opera. Through Instagram, you said?
Facebook,
or the Opera House in Panama? Or
the website, Fundación Opera Panama. You can find me through any of those ways. But there's something in opera that I think transcends all professions as well, is be around the best people you can be.
Yes.
Never give up. Never
give
take
up.
no for an answer.
So,
Envision yourself doing what you're doing. Meditate the first thing in the morning, or say, or whatever you want to call it. Write your goals down, follow them, and surround yourself by a supportive group. You can't do this by yourself.
I mean, there's nobody who could give better advice than you. You've done there, you've been there, you know what you did, and you know how you got there. So I'd encourage you to contact us.
Thank you. And
And
thank you so much for having me. This
oh,
is fabulous.
I think
what
I
you're
learned so
doing.
much from you. I mean, it's amazing. And I'm going to follow up with you in the next few months when you're
Fabulous.
back from all your wonderful journey in the next few months in Spain and, you know,
And I'll be
and-
back to my beloved Austria as
and to
well.
Austria as well. Yeah, I was in Austria a few years ago. And it was
And
just
Italy,
amazing.
hopefully Italy. Yeah.
And Italy too.
Yes, and I had the privilege of singing some in Italy as well.
That's
with the Rye Orchestra.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I'm sure hoping that you'll share some of the podcasts or maybe some of the filming that you do over there with us so we can air it in our podcast.
Absolutely.
That
What
was
a great
we would
idea.
love to do
Absolutely.
that, right?
Okay.
So it's Rohini Kapoor from Step by Step Talks winding up today. We've had just the most amazing person as our audience, as our guest today. If you want to be someone and you want to get there, I would suggest you follow Sylvia's advice. If you need any more information, you can contact me at stepbysteptalks.com. If you message me, I will answer you confidentially, privately, and give you some more information on how you can get better, how you can be better, stronger, and financially independent. Thanks and have a great day, everyone.